This year's ADAC 24-hour race at the Nürburgring was different in that the race started at 4 p.m. but was then paused under a red flag at 11:30 p.m. because of the heavy fog around the track. They tried restarting it at 1:30 p.m. the next day with 5 laps behind an intervention vehicle at 80 kilometers an hour, but after 1.5 hours driving, the fog hadn't lifted and they decided to end the race. This video is going to show you a few different aspects of the race. Firstly the start, and then my sister is going to interview me after my first stint. Then there's an interesting illustration of where skill beats speed, where I'm behind a faster car for about 20 kilometers. He'll take off on the straights and then I pull him in when it gets twisty. Then it's what happens when there's a crash, in this case at night, and then the effective end of the race at about 11:30 p.m. when the race was red flagged due to heavy fog. I was the last car off the track and into the pits.
Estra says, "See you later, mate. This is why we chose this particular tyre." And Farfus has gone through into second. Riccardo Feller now up to third position for Scherer Sport, and Marco Mappelli in fourth place. So where on earth is Mauro Engel now? He's 13th. He's 13th after a terrible fifth sector on the racetrack. From the lead outside of the top 10 in basically a few corners.
Nothing to do whatsoever with keeping his powder dry all week. Everything to do with being on that dry tyre on the Grand Prix track. You saw how much performance he had. However, it all just begins to crumble as they hit the rain out there on the Nordschleife.
Group 3 getting underway now. This is one of my favourites purely because of the mixture of manufacturers at the front end. We've got the Subaru WRX number 88 starting alongside the Audi TTS. In behind them on the second row was a BMW M3, and that looks to have now got ahead of the other cars in and around it. The VW New Beetle RSR car number 13, which has become a fan's favourite. Albrecht, Knekkas, Ash and Ria are the drivers in number 13, and then the 776 VW Golf that started from 5th position of start group. Dry. It's not dry at Schwedenkreuz at Arenberg, far from it, and to the high side went Kevin Estra, braking deliberately early, but he will have assessed this lap, as will Augusto Farfus, and Mauro Engel absolutely helpless in trying to turn the car in. Meanwhile, Marco Mappelli had a bit of contact there, I think, with Riccardo Feller. Oh, they're all trying to navigate. They're really struggling. Mauro Engel car number 130. Feller in the end ended up ahead of the Lamborghini Huracan. At this moment in time, the Italian car, powered by a similar engine compared to the Audi, was just ahead, but Feller now runs third for Scherer Sport, ahead of Mappelli's Huracan.
And I tell you, he was absolutely flying at the moment. You won't be surprised to hear it's the 72 entry with Dan Harper at the wheel, the BMW RMG. It's 10 seconds quicker in Sector 3 and again in Sector 5 already, having switched to those wets. So he's got his dander up, hasn't he, from having to surrender that pole position. And it's like, right, that was mine, I want it back. Early days, I'll take it steady, get the first stint in.
Well, his steady is flat out, isn't it?
Exactly, his steady is different to ours, isn't it? Exactly, yeah.
Meanwhile, Daniel Harper back into the race after that very early tyre change, and the 72 car is 18th, I make it, and he's got an Aston Martin just ahead of him, which is the 17 car, that being driven by Nico Bastian for Pro Sport Racing. So 17 and 72, did they both pit at the end of the first lap? That would make sense if they're now together. Car 17, yeah, that Nico Bastian shares with Marek Bachmann, who was one of the qualifying drivers. Harper trying to get by Bastian and can just about do that coming out of Schwabenschwanz.
Got yellow flags up at Klostertal as well. Again, we're going to see potentially quite tricky track conditions normally breed yellow flags and incidents, and I'm not sure why the yellow flag has come out. It's now cleared, so I suspect we've maybe had a little bit of a harmless spin. No information coming as to who caused that.
The 3 different eggshell coloured Hyundais that started on, well, the European car, as PMAC calls it, has started on wet weather tyres. These are all Elantras, and therefore the 830 we reckon is on wets. The Canadian
So, this is your interview. How did it go first stint?
Good. It was a good first stint. It's always busy when the fast boys come past, but they were really good, really patient. I kept finding that the cars that I was faster than would catch up to me in the greasy stuff on the other side of the track, and then I would pull away, and then they would catch me. So I'm sure I frustrated some people, but I didn't crash, and that's always good.
How did the car perform?
Good. Yeah, it's a nice car. Very forgiving. BMW 330i. It's a very forgiving car. Yeah. But hot. Hot, man.
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning. Great big engine in front of me. We race cars with the engines in the back.
This is around 11:30 at night when the heavy fog effectively ended the race. Everyone pitted their cars and put them to bed for the night, hoping that the race would start again in the morning, which it didn't. We had 5 laps at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but they were behind a safety car and the fog never lifted until the very, very end of the day. You can see me bring my car in and me leave the car and walk into the pits. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you've got any thoughts or comments, please include them.